Hare Krishna, welcome everyone to our Srimad Bhagavat Overview class. We'll begin with our prayers. Om Ajnanatimidandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam सहगणा रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजना सहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगणा ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्त राधाकान्त नमोऽस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामी निति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देश तारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधार श्रीवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. Hare Krishna. So welcome everyone. So we are discussing from the seventh canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, and so far we have discussed the beautiful story of the appearance of Lord Nrsimhadev, how Lord Nrsimhadev he appeared in this world to protect his devotees, Prahlad Maharaj's words, and also to protect the Prahlad Maharaj himself. Satyam Vidhatam Nijbhritya Bhashitam. And then after describing the whole story, you know, Yudhishthir Maharaj, he was feeling so very sad that he is not so fortunate. For one devotee, Prahlad, Nrsimhadev himself came. So in response to this, Narad Muni tells that actually you are more fortunate than Prahlad also. You are more fortunate than me. You are more fortunate than any of the sages. Because that Supreme Lord is himself residing at your home, doing all the humble menial services. सारथ्य पार्षद सेवन सख्य दौत्य वीरासनानुगमन स्तवन प्रणामान श्रीगृहेषु पाण्डुषु जगत प्रणतिम च विष्णो bhaktim karoti nirvande. Because you all Pandavas, they are so very affectionate to Lord, that's why he is staying at your place. And then Yudhishthira Maharaj he asked a question: how is it possible that Lord is he agreed to stay at our place? We are so much fallen and too much into illusion of this material world. So Narad Muni tells that actually nobody can understand how the Lord acts. Even Brahmaji cannot understand. Even Lord Shiva cannot understand. And in response to that, Yudhishthira Maharaj may think, but I think Lord Shiva can understand. So Narad Muni tells the whole story of how Lord Shiva he was helped by Lord Krishna in killing of this Tripurasura demon, and he became known as Tripurari. And then Yudhishthira Maharaj, out of his compassion for all the people in general, he asked about the Sanatana Dharma and Varnashram Dharma. So the seventh canto, it describes two extreme inclinations of living entity. That is called Utaya. Utaya means inclination. That is Karma Vasana. So the best of the inclination, that is of Prahlad, and the worst of the inclination, that is Hiranyakashipu. And in between there are so many people. So they are how they will perfect their life. So Yudhishthira Maharaj is asking for those people. And in response to that, we heard how Narad Muni, he described the duties of four varnas and duties of four ashramas. And then after hearing all this, in the 14th chapter, Narad Muni now explains in detail the path of a householder. How a grihastha who is engaged in worldly activities, how he should stay in this material world. So Yudhishthira Maharaj, he asked a question. Grihastha etam padavim vidhina yena chanjasa yayad devarshi bruhi madrisho grih mudhi. He says, Grihastha eta padavim. So please explain, bruhi, to me, please explain unto me, those who are staying in the household life, grihastha, and they are mudha dhi. They are not having the knowledge of the goal of life. How they will attain the liberation in their lives? Sorry. So that is a question which Yudhishthira Maharaj he asks. So Prabhupada writes there that uh, so Prabhupada he describes that actually Yudhishthira Maharaj, he is a liberated soul, he is a pure devotee. He understands all this very nicely. But he is acting as a Griha Mudha Dhi. He represented himself as Griha Mudha Dhi. Griha Mudha Dhi means one who is completely ignorant about the household life, about the ultimate goal of life. So Mudha, he is completely foolish about the perfect goal of life. So therefore, anybody who is completely absorbed in the household affairs, he is called Griha Mudha Dhi. And therefore, Prabhupada writes, everybody in any of the ashramas, either when somebody is a brahmachari or a grihastha or a vanaprastha or a sannyas, the principle of austerity is very, very important. Tapo divyam putraka yena sattvam shuddhyeti yasmat brahma saukhyam tu anantam, as described by Rishabhdev. So this human body is meant to do tapasya so that we can attain the highest perfection of life. So when Yudhishthira Maharaj he asked this question from Narad Muni replied, Griheshu avasthito rajan kriya kurvan yathochita vasudevarpanam sakshat upasit mahamunim. He says, Griheshu avasthito rajan. So whoever is there in the household life, he must learn to earn their livelihood and at the same time Vasudeva Arpanam. They should be very expert in earning their livelihood in a sinless way, and they should be very expert in serving the Supreme Lord Vasudeva. Vasudeva Arpanam Sakshat. They should learn to give in charity for the welfare of the Krishna consciousness movement. That's what Prabhupada writes in the purport. He should be ready to worship the great devotees of the Lord. Upasita Mahamuni. So Upasita Mahamuni means one should worship the great devotees of the Lord. So therefore, Prabhupada writes, how to satisfy Vasudeva in the life? It can be perfectly understood only in association of the great devotees of the Lord. So Prabhupada writes in the purport here, the formula for Grihastha life should be dedication to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is the formula for Grihastha life. If somebody is in a householder life, how he should mold his life so that he should be able to worship the Supreme Lord always. Anashrita karma phalam karyam karma karotiha sasannyasi cha yogi cha na niragrina chakriyaha. So that is how one practices the nishkam karma stage. That one is not attached to the results of the actions and he should be focused on satisfying the Supreme Lord. So that is the science of satisfying the Supreme Lord. Upasita Mahamuni. One has to learn Divya Gyan Hridaya Prakashita, as it is described by Acharyas. When we serve the devotees of the Lord, when we hear from them, then we understand how to perfect our human form of life. And then Narad Muni says, one should hear about Krishna. Shrinvan Bhagavato Bhikshnam Avatara Kathamritam Shraddhano Yatha Kalam Upashanta Janavritah. Shrinvan Bhagavato Abhikshnam. Abhikshnam is a very, very important word here. One has to hear about the pastimes of Lord. One has to hear about the Avatar Katha Amrit. Avatar Katha Amrit means one has to hear about the nectarine pastimes of the Supreme Lord. That's what Brahmaji is telling to Narad Muni. that yad vakyato yad rishnaamananti leelavataran purashasya bhumnah apiyatam karnakashaya shoshan anukramishya sa iman supeshan. So he says, I will tell you about the Leelavatar Katha because it has four qualities. It is Risha Amananti, it is endorsed, it is approved by the sages, and it is Apiyatam, it is to be relished. Hari Katha is meant to be relished. Karna Kashaya Shoshan. Karna Kashaya Shoshan means all the foul matter which is accumulated in the ears. That is the tendency to hear all the mundane subject matter. That is the dirt which is there in the ears. That will be destroyed. Karna Kashaya Shoshan. It will be dried up. And then it is very, very pleasing to hear. Supeshan. So therefore one should hear about Avatar Katha, Shraddha Dhano, with faith, Yatha Kalam, whatever time one has. Upashanta Janavritaha. And in this way one should be equipoised. And then what he should do? He should develop detachment from the material sense gratification. Satsanga sanakai sangam atmajaya atmajadishu muyumchen muchyamaneshu swayam swapanad utthitah. So he says, by the Sat Sangha, by association of the devotees of the Lord, Atma Jaya, Atma Dishu, Atmaja Adishu, one should give up the attachment. Vimucche. Vimucche means one should give up the attachment to all the things which are related to the body. Wife, children, property, wealth, relatives, everything. Slowly, one should become detached from the worldly affairs and one should focus on the Supreme Lord. Just like if somebody is dreaming, in dream he may create a whole castle and he may have completely different family and he may be doing so many things. But when he gets up, he forgets all that. He is completely detached from all that, whatever he was seeing in the dream. Similarly, one should give up all the attachment just like a dream state. So therefore, this Krishna consciousness movement is meant to give association to those who are interested in making their life perfect. That is one of the purposes of ISKCON, to establish the centers where people can come and take advantage of hearing this process of Krishna consciousness. So this abhikshanam is very important. Abhikshana means again and again. Not that array sun liya and I have heard this once or twice or so many times I have heard. We should be always eager. That is the quality of Krishna Katha. Actually, nobody can be satisfied hearing Krishna Katha, and one can be satisfied only by hearing Krishna Katha. That is a very achintya quality of Krishna Katha. All the topics of the world, they don't satisfy the heart. Only Krishna Katha satisfies the heart. But the interesting thing is, nobody is satiated hearing this Krishna Katha. Kastripnuya tirtha padobhidhana satreshu asuribhiridyamanat yat karna nadim purushasya yato bhavapradam geharatim chinatti. Kastripnuyat, who can be satisfied by hearing the pastimes of Krishna? So therefore, in the purport, Prabhupada writes in detail how a grihastha, how a person who is a materially absorbed person, he is working so very hard. From morning to evening he is working, and then somehow he comes back and then he sleeps for some time, and then again he has the anxiety of getting up early in the morning and going again. He's working like ass, Prabhupada is writing. And many times people, they travel for 100 miles also to go to work. So that's what Prabhupada is condemning in the purport. To such an extent, Prabhupada says that one should work only for 8 hours at a day maximum to earn a livelihood. But in current scenario, this may not be possible. So whatever is possible, we should try to do our best. And then he says, Prabhupada writes that, morning, afternoon or evening, one should associate with devotees. But instead of all these people, they go to club and they go to restaurant. and hear about all the political activities of the demons. That is very interesting. And it is very, very important to avoid hearing all these political affairs. They are very, very captivating many times because it attracts our lower modes. We become so very hooked on to all the topics of the mundane world, politics, Bollywood, and all the sports and cricket and everything. It is very, very attractive. So Prabhupada writes there, people, they hear about all these topics and then they enjoy sex, wine and women. In this way, they waste their time. This is not a grihastha life, Prabhupada writes. This is a demoniac life. And then he says, Narad Muni says that, one should earn only as much as required. One should live in the family without becoming attached to the family affairs. And therefore, Prabhupada writes there that this is the ideal picture, ideal family life. Just like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he also asked Ramanand Rai, what is the goal of life? Ramanand Rai replied so many things. Starting from Varna Ashrama Acharvata, one should follow the Varna Ashrama. And then Jnane Prayasam, he says, okay, one has to cultivate the knowledge of Supreme Lord. And that point, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepted. Yes, this is right, but I want to hear more. So that is the purpose of ideal family. One should become more and more conscious of Krishna. We have to learn about our fallen condition and then try to come out of it. So that is what is described by Prabhupada in the purport. And then Prabhupada writes that, instead of hankering more and more for the money, a sincere devotee, very interesting line Prabhupada writes there, a sincere devotee, he tries to invent ways to earn money so that he may save time for Krishna conscious activities. And if one is really genuinely sincere and serious in that, Krishna will definitely help him from within. He will arrange all the things so that a devotee becomes, he can come close to Krishna. And there are many examples we have heard how devotees who actually wanted to give up their, jobs which were so very hectic, and somehow they got a chance to they got a job where they could practice Krishna consciousness properly. So therefore, Prabhupada writes that one should be satisfied with whatever comes automatically. So as Rupa Goswami describes the principle of atyahar and prayas, they are very, very important, especially in current age, because of the whole scenario of propaganda and the media which is there. It is so very easy to get attracted to some sense objects. It is so very easy to, develop a desire to enjoy in different ways. So therefore, this principle of atyahar and prayas should always be kept in consideration. Am I endeavoring sufficiently, or am I endeavoring more than what is required? So that is a question we have to keep asking ourselves over a period of time. And then Narad Muni says, even if somebody is himself very serious and sincere, but many of us, we are not from devotee family. Our family may not be a devotee. Our relatives may not be a devotee. Friends may not be devotees. How to deal with them? Very interesting verse, Now Narad Muni is telling how to be in the society. Gyatayah pitarah putra bhratirah suridopare yadvadanti yadichanti chanumodeta nirmamaha. First of all, one should keep his life simple. So this is a principle of simplicity and diplomacy. So that is a principle of a household life. Simplicity when it comes to his own requirements and dealing with and taking care of the family affairs, it should be simple. And when dealing with the other people, relatives, friends, and anyone, gyataya, he says that if there are suggestions, many times devotees have experienced. So many of the suggestions, they keep coming from the friends, from the parents, from the children, from brothers, from anyone else. The suggestions keep coming. What to do at that point? You know, some people, some relative will come and say, why are you spending so much of time in going to temple and hearing classes and doing chanting? Do something substantial. Okay, you are doing good, but do little less. How to deal with that? How to deal with these people? Because we have to stay with them only. We cannot criticize them, we cannot fight with them, we cannot argue with them. Otherwise the family relations will become bitter. How to deal with the relatives? So this verse is the answer. Yad vadanti yad icchanti cha anumodet nirmamaha. Whatever they say, whatever they desire, what we should do? We should externally agree, saying that yes, yes, that's all right. Prabhupada is right. Prabhupada writes like that. We should externally agree, saying that yes, yes, whatever you are saying is right. But anumodet means you should agree externally nirmama. Nirmama means internally he should be determined not to create a cumbersome life. So that's a very important principle, which is very, very applicable, very, very important in household life. How to deal with people, how to deal with relatives who are not interested in Krishna consciousness. We should agree, yes, whatever you are saying is right, but we should be determined that I am not going to do whatever he is saying. So in due course of time, they will also understand, okay, this person is not going to change. They'll stop saying. We should always be gentle. So that's how we have to understand. We have to live. And then he says, an intelligent householder, he must perform his daily activities and his occupational duties, utilizing whatever is created by the Supreme Lord, and whatever comes from the sky, whatever comes from the earth, and whatever comes from the atmosphere. Rainfalls and the grains and whatever is coming from the nature, one should accept it because it is coming from Krishna. Krishna is the ultimate source of everything. We should offer all the respects to Krishna because he is the source. Annad bhavanti bhutani parjanyad anna sambhavaha yagyad bhavati parjanyo yagyah karma samudbhavaha. So Krishna is saying in Bhagavad Gita, the rains are coming from Supreme Lord, and because of the rains, the grains, they grow. So the principle is everything should be utilized in the service of Krishna. And then he says that while living the family life, one should avoid greed. This greed is a very, very dangerous thing. One should claim proprietorship over as much as wealth which is required to live the life properly. That is the principle of Ishavasya. Ishavasya means one should not encroach on others' property. Ishavasyamidam sarvam yatkincha jagatyam jagat tena tyaktena bhunjitha magrida kasya. One should not encroach on others' property. One should accept only whatever is required to live very simply in this world. And in this way, if somebody is living, he can live for hundreds of years. That's what Ishopanishad writes. Hundreds of years means he can live for a long time on this earth. But one who does not work in this way, he is certainly a thief. And he deserves to be punished by material nature. Dandam arahati. Because anybody who takes from nature without offering it back, he is a thief. Yagyasishtasina shanto muchante sarvakilbishaihi bhunjate te tvagam papa ye pachantyatma karanat. Whoever is eating food now without offering, they are eating sin. And actually they are yobhunkte sten evasaha. They are thieves. So therefore, Prabhupada writes that there is no need to accumulate money in the bank merely to increase the bank account, bank balance. And such a mentality is called demoniac mentality. And he quotes the verses from the 16th chapter. But then Prabhupada writes that you know, because thought may come, but we are also earning money, we are also accumulating. So a grihastha should accumulate money. That is what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu he told Mukund Datta, because Mukund Datta he was not he was a very detached personality. He was not keeping anything for himself. So he told Shivananda Sen, you take care of the accounts of this person, because he is not interested in taking care of the family. He always keeps donating, and he keeps giving in charity. So you take care of the account, because it is a duty of the householder to maintain a bank balance, to maintain wealth for some future emergency. Sanchaya is required, but the mentality of accumulating is condemned in scriptures. That is called Nishkinchana. Nishkinchanasya Bhagavad Bhajanonmukhasya. So whoever is interested in developing Krishna consciousness, they should not have possessive mentality. And therefore, Prabhupada writes that a grihastha, they should earn, but they should also give donation contribution for the construction of the temples and for preaching of Srimad Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. And then he writes that in India, actually, we see especially hundreds and thousands of temples are constructed by wealthy men of the society who did not want to be called as thief. So one wealthy businessman came to Prabhupada and said, Swamiji, and he was talking to Prabhupada. So Prabhupada asked him, so what do you do? What is your business? So this person said, Swamiji, I have a glass factory. I make glasses. So Prabhupada said, okay, very nice. From where are you getting ingredients to make glass? So he said, Swamiji, I get this sand and then extract silica from it, and then from that I make glass. So Prabhupada said, that means you are stealing from Krishna. So this person said, but Swamiji, I give donation also. So then Prabhupada said, so then you are a small thief. Hira chor or khira chor, both are chor only. If somebody steals a diamond, he is also a thief. If somebody steals a cucumber, he is also a thief. So therefore, whatever money one has, one should keep the reserve for his own family, his emergency needs, but also it should be given in charity for spreading Krishna consciousness. Otherwise, the greed for earning money will implicate him in the cycle of birth and death. And then he says, one should have equal vision towards all the living entities, towards all the animals also. Deer, camel, asses, donkeys, mice, even snakes, birds and flies. They should be accepted as one's own son. A householder does not kill even an insect if it is not troubling, if it is not required. Like children, a person should take care of all the living entities. Like children, they should be taken care of. And then Narad Muni says that a householder should not hanker for dharma, artha, kama. Three varga. Three varga means dharma, artha and kama. There are four purusharthas, dharma, artha, kama, moksha. So this three, dharma, artha and kama, one should not aspire for these. The dharma should be practiced only for developing a desire to get liberated from the cycle of birth and death. Dharmasya hi apavargasya na arthasya arthayopakalpate. Dharma should be practiced only for attaining liberation, not for acquiring more and more money. Not that, okay, I want to earn money by this religious way. No. That should not be the purpose of practicing dharma. And therefore, Prabhupada writes that if somebody is just walking very hard, that is a ugra karma. And Prabhupada writes in detail about this ugra karma in the purport. This ugra karma is the cause of agitation within the human mind. One should not be so much over endeavoring to acquire knowledge, acquire money. And then he says, what is this ugra karma? Slaughterhouses and breweries and cigarette factories and nightclubs and all the avenues of sense enjoyment. they are considered Ugra Karma. A householder should maintain everyone. Even a dog should be maintained. Even a fallen person, even an outcast, he should be maintained. And one's wife should also be engaged in serving the guests. Why this is specifically mentioned? Because that will give the mentality of ownership. Okay, she is only meant to serve me? No. She is meant to serve everybody. She is meant to serve the guests also, so that the householder will give up the mentality of ownership, enjoyership. And then Narad Muni says one has to develop the detachment from his wife. Jahyad yadarthe swapranan hanyadva pitaram gurum tasyam swatvam sriyam jahyad yastena hiyajato jitah. He says sometimes a householder is so possessive about his wife, he sometimes even kills himself to maintain the family. Sometimes he is ready to kill even his parents, his even spiritual master, even for the sake of his wife. That is a very dangerous attachment one can develop towards one's wife. So if the attachment to such to a wife is given up, then ajita jitaha, he can conquer the unconquerable Lord. Somebody may ask, but what is the logic? Why one should give up attachment to the wife? He says, because anyways the body of the wife is also going to get destroyed. Krimi, vid, bhashma, nisthantam, kvedam tucham kalevaram, kwa tadiyarati bharyar kwayam atma nabhashadi. He says, by deliberation, one should give up the attachment to the wife's insignificant body, and for that matter, anyone's body. Similar description, this description has come earlier also. How one should give up attachment to the body? One should know that this body is going to either become stool or ash or insects. If the body is burnt, it will become ash. If it is eaten by some animal, it will become stool. And if there are insects which are devouring the body, it becomes insect. So what is the value of such an insignificant body of a wife in comparison to the Supreme Lord? Tucham, that is insignificant. So therefore, one should be satisfied with just eating prasad. One should not try to run here and there just to satisfy the palate. Jihvera lalasai ityutidhai shishnodar parayan Krishna nahi paye. As Prabhupada writes in Nectar of Instruction, that this jihva is so very difficult to control. Ityutidhai. He runs here and there to satisfy the tongue. Shishna udara parayan. One who is devoted to belly and genitals, Krishna nahi paye. They cannot attain Krishna. Therefore, a householder should perform the Pancha Mahayagya. Pancha Mahayagya means there are some sacrifices which a householder would do to become free from the sins which one does involuntarily. While cooking, some living entities are killed. While walking, some living entities are killed. Even while speaking, even while putting water in the vessel, some living entities are killed. So to become free from all these sins, one has to do a Pancha Mahayagya. And then he says one should worship everyone. One should worship devatas, sages, forefathers, and all the living entities, because everybody is a part and parcel. One has to perform the sacrifices to please the Supreme Lord. Whatever wealth one has, one should try to serve the Supreme Lord. One should try to do some sacrifice according to the Vedic rituals. And then Prabhupada writes in the purport that in Satya Yuga, the way to attain Krishna was doing severe tapasya. And in Treta Yuga, it was so very difficult. So they started doing the yagyas, huge fire sacrifices. In Dwapara Yuga, that was also not possible properly. So they started doing deity worship. That is the recommended way. But in Kali Yuga, the only thing which is easily practiced is chanting the names of the Lord. Krite yadhyayate Vishnu tretayam yajato makhai dwapare paricharyayam kalau tad hari kirtanat. So Hari Kirtana is the only way to attain perfection in this Kali Yuga. So then, it says that one should not be too much attached to performing even sacrifices. Worshipping the Brahmanas is even a greater way of doing sacrifice. Okay, that is good. You are doing sacrifice to please the Supreme Lord. But worshipping the devotees of the Lord, they are even better. That is a better sacrifice. We heard in the fourth canto this Jai Vijay pastime when Kumaras they cursed this Jai Vijay. Lord himself came out and he begged forgiveness. He said, I can never see a Brahmana in distress. I am ready to lop off my own arm if it is found hostile to the Brahmanas. Even he says that even I get all my powers by serving the feet of Brahmanas. Aradhananam sarvesham Vishnuradhanam param tasmat parataram devi tadiyanam samarchanam. Of all the worships, Lord Shiva is telling to Parvati, the worship of Lord Vishnu is the supreme. And even in the Vishnu worship of the devotees is even better. So therefore, a householder, what he should do, how he should serve the Vaishnavas, serve the Brahmanas. So he says that actually Supreme Lord is satisfied when a Brahmana is served prasad. Actually, when Brahmana eats, Supreme Lord is more pleased. When Brahmana eats, eating through the mouth is more pleasing to Krishna than, when something is offered in a sacrificial fire. So therefore Prabhupada writes, this is the Vedic way of offering prasad. So that's why any religious ceremony is incomplete if there is no prasadam distribution. So all the Brahmanas and the Vaishnavas should be fed. All the old men, children, even outcasts, even animals, they would be fed properly before eating oneself. He distributes food to everybody. So that is what here Narad Muni is telling, and then he starts the description of various time and places which are suitable for religious activities. He says, what are the auspicious time to perform the religious acts? A Brahmana must offer oblations to the forefathers. So that is about Shraddha ceremony. So when Shraddha ceremony should be offered? So one should offer oblations to the forefathers during the dark moon fortnight in the Bhadra month. Bhadra just went, Bhadra month. And then he should offer oblations to the relatives of forefathers during the Mahalaya ceremonies of the Ashwina month. That's what he says. And then he says, when one should perform this Shraddha ceremony? On the day of, he can perform the Shraddha ceremonies on the days of Makar Sankranti or Karkata Sankranti or Mesha Sankranti or Tula Sankranti, Akshaya Tritiya. So all these are very auspicious days to do Shraddha. And Prabhupada in the purport, he describes all technical details of the Sankranti, how sun enters a particular Rashi. And then Narad Muni tells what will be the benefit of offering oblations during such auspicious times. So by doing all these activities, it will bring success even in this short duration of life. One will become materially successful, and at the same time, it will yield a permanent beneficial result. He will develop a spiritual inclination. If somebody takes bath in the sacred river, offer oblations, offer fire sacrifice and offer worship to the Supreme Lord, it will offer a permanent result. And therefore, one will flourish in all his fruitive activities as well. And then he describes the suitable place for spiritual activities. What are the suitable places? He says that there are 4 places which are very, very suitable to perform religious activities. Arthadeshan pravakshyami Dharmadi Shreyas Avahan Savai Punyatamo Desha Satparam Yatra Labhyate. So first thing is, first place where one should perform these auspicious religious activities is Sat Param Yatra Labhyate, wherever Vaishnavas are available. Wherever great devotees of the Lord are available, religious performances should be executed at those places. And then Bimbam Bhagavato Yatra Sarvam Etat Characharam. Bimbam means wherever the archa of the Lord is there. Yatra Harer Archa Sadesha Shreyasam Padam. Wherever the worship of the deities is going on, that is the most perfect place to do this sacrifice, to do charity. And what is the other place? Yatra ha Brahmana Kulam. Wherever the Brahmanas are there, who are expert in following the Vedic principles, who are expert in tapo, vidya, daya, who are expert in austerity, charity, and education. So, and fourth he says is Yatra Ganga Dayo Nadya Puraneshu cha Vishrutaha. Wherever the sacred rivers are there, that is a very, very important place. That is also a sacred place. So wherever the Vaishnavas are available, wherever the worship of the deity is going on, wherever the learned Brahmanas are there, and wherever a sacred river is flowing, at those places one should perform religious activities. And therefore, Prabhupada writes in the purport that Vaishnava temple where the Supreme Lord is worshipped and where Vaishnavas are engaged is the best sacred place for performing any religious ceremony. So therefore, the process of deity worship which Prabhupada has given in Krishna consciousness movement in ISKCON, it is very, very wonderfully designed. The whole process of the whole system of Mangal Arati. If somebody attends full Mangal Arati in a temple, he can perform 54 items out of 64 items of devotional service every day. So that is the expertise of Prabhupada. How Prabhupada has inculcated so many of the limbs of devotional service in just Mangal Arati, morning program. Full morning program from 5 to 9:30. If somebody is there in temple, he naturally doing spontaneously without any separate endeavor, he does more than 50 items of devotional service out of 64. So therefore one should perform religious ceremonies in those places. And Prabhupada in the purport, he describes that Kanishta Adhikari, he is only interested in worshipping the deities of the Lord. Archayam eva haraye pujam ya shraddhaye hate na tad bhakteshu chanyeshu tad bhakta prakrita smrita. One should not be having this neophyte mentality. Neophyte means always fighting. Always fighting with all the devotees, and he thinks मेरे और भगवान के बीच में कोई नहीं आना चाहिए. I am sufficient to worship the Supreme Lord directly. So he thinks deity worship is the supreme, and he neglects the respect to Vaishnavas. So that is a very low class mentality. So therefore one should worship the deities, but one should know that worshipping the devotees is even better. And then Prabhupada writes that a grihastha, if he worships Shaligram Shila at his home, then that place is also same as good as a sacred place. And then he describes that these holy places, Narad Muni describes that the holy places, they are very, very important for making spiritual advancement. Which are the holy places? He describes 4 types of holy places. Sacred rivers, sacred lakes like Pushkar, places where devotees live. Kurukshetra, Gaya, Prayag, Pulah Ashram, Naimisharanya, Setubandha, Prayag, Dwarka, Varanasi, Mathura, Bindu Sarovar, Badrikashma, all these places where devotees live. And the places where Lord Ramchandra and Sita, they have performed their pastimes, Chitrakuta and all the other places. And Prabhupada adds one more thing in the translation itself. He says, an international society for Krishna consciousness has opened places all over the world where we have established Radha Krishna deities and they are being worshipped very nicely. One who desires spiritual advancement, they should visit these places. So that is the purpose of Krishna consciousness movement. This is giving a chance to people all over the world to become purified and to get a chance to elevate their consciousness. So that is one of the seven uh, principles of ISKCON which Prabhupada established. And then he says, whenever we perform some religious act, we must do it according to time, place, and person. Okay, that is there. But to whom we should offer? You know, so to whom we should offer all these articles? So that is the next point which Narad Muni is making. So he said that we have to go to holy place, we have to search for Vaishnavas to offer service, we have to go to those places where rivers are flowing, sacred rivers. So why so much of importance on going to holy place? Actually, Dham is a place where mercy is available. So Chaitanya Prabhu says there are three things one should do in Dham. So first is sensory perception. Sensory perception means when we go to a holy place, we should see the Dham with our eyes. We should try to go to all the places and see the Dham personally. That is very, very important. But seeing alone is not important. Then what to do now? Because we hear so many stories. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, when he was doing all the Brajmandal Parikrama, so Prabhupada, he was also attending, and there was a announcement which was made that we'll be going to Sheshashai temple, and Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada, he would also be speaking. Anybody who would like to stay back, they can stay, and others they can come. Almost everybody they went. Only few sannyasis remained, and Prabhupada, Abhay Babu, he remained. So Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he noticed, and later he remarked that I will give him initiation because he likes to hear. He does not go away. So when we are going to a holy place, of course we have to take darshan of the holy places. That is sensual perception. But along with that, there should be a textual description also. We should read about the holy places. We should hear about those holy places from the devotees, from the various books which are there. That's how our appreciation will increase. Otherwise, what can we see with our naked eyes? That will be eye massage, that's all. But when we hear about a holy place, then we can actually realize the importance of a holy place. And that is also not sufficient. One has to see, then hear, and then third is devotional contemplation is very, very important. We have to contemplate that we have become so grateful that we have got a chance to come to this holy place by mercy of the Lord. And we should pray that our heart should get attracted to these holy places. That is a contemplation. And that's why Dham is not a physical place. It is our Vrindavan is not a place. It is a state of consciousness. So even if we are not at a holy place, we can be in that place by our consciousness. So that is what Narad Muni is describing. And then he says, okay, to whom you should offer your worship? So then he describes the importance of worshipping Krishna. Krishna is the best recipient of all the sacrifices. And he says that, expert devotees, they have decided that only Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, who is the master of all the moving and non-moving things, he is the best person unto whom everything should be offered. Bhoktaram Yagyatapasam Sarvalokam. He is the ultimate proprietor of everything. Just like watering the root of the tree nourishes the entire tree. Worshipping Krishna satisfies everyone. Yatha taror mool nishechanena tripyanti tatskanda bhujopashakha pranopahara cha tathendriyaram sarva arhanam yatha achyutejya. So that is the importance of Krishna. Why only Krishna? You know. So then Narad Muni describes the example of Rajasuya sacrifice. How at Rajasuya sacrifice there was a discussion. Who is the best person to be offered Agra Puja? There were many great sages, many great devatas, all had assembled, and Krishna was also there. Everybody unanimously decided that Krishna is a supreme person unto whom everything should be offered. So that is how Narad Muni is also telling that entire universe is like a tree and Krishna is like the root of the tree. From the root, everything comes out. Aham sarvasya prabhavo mattah sarvam pravartate. As Krishna is saying in Bhagavad Gita, I am the source of everything. And then he describes that, the Lord is the source of all the living entities. As Paramatma, he is there in the heart of every living entity. And therefore, he is the one who is awarding all the bodily forms to various living entities according to their karma. And therefore, the super soul is giving the intelligence to everyone how to act. Matta smritir jnanam apohanam cha. And then Narad Muni says that, in Treta Yuga, in the beginning of Treta Yuga, deity worship was introduced because, great sages, they saw that people, they have started becoming disrespectful to each other. Their respect for the living entities have gone down. So therefore, to correct this mentality, deity worship was introduced. And that's how when we worship the Supreme Lord in a deity form, then slowly one realizes that all the living entities, they are also living part and parcel of this Supreme Lord. And they start respecting everyone. But in Kali Yuga, worship of the deity is not so much recommended. Because, in Hari Bhakti Vilas, Sanatana Goswami has given a huge detailed description of what all things to be done to practice this, to do this deity worship. And most of the time we will not be able to do it. So therefore Prabhupada writes that this Sankirtan movement is the most important and most feasible and easiest way to attain the same perfection. ऐछे प्रेम ऐछे नृत्य ऐछे हरि ध्वनि कहाँ नहीं देखी यार कहाँ नहीं सुनी. So this Pratap Rudra Maharaj, he is asking Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. All the Vaishnavas are coming from Navadip. Every year they would come to Navadip and stay with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu for 3-4 months in Jagannath Puri. Pratap Rudra Maharaj was the king of Odisha. So when he saw all these devotees, they are coming and they were dancing and chanting the holy names. Aiche prema, aiche nritya, aiche hari dhvani. He says, I have never heard, I have never seen such love for Krishna. Bhattacharya kahe madhur bachan chaitanya ra srishti prema sankirtan. Sarvam Bhattacharya says, Oh my dear king, this is the creation of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Chaitanya Srishti Prema Sankirtan. So everybody of us, we have experienced the joy when we chant and dance in Kirtan. And therefore he says, Avatari Chaitanya Kaila Dharma Pracharan Kali Kale Dharma Krishna Nama Sankirtan. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he brought this Sankirtan in this Kali Yuga. Kali Kale Dharma Krishna Nama Sankirtan. Sankirtan yagye kore aradhan seita sumedhar koli hatajan. Sankirtan yagya tare kore aradhan. That is the best way to worship Krishna. That is Sankirtan, chanting the names of the Lord. Seita sumedhar koli hatajan. That person is intelligent. Sumedha, very, very intelligent. All the other are foolish, degraded souls. Maya Devi herself tells to Haridas Thakur, Chaitanya avatare bahe prema amrita banya सब जीव प्रेमे भासे पृथ्वी होइल धन्य जे बन्याय जे न भासे सई जीव छार कोटि जन्मे कभू तार नहीं कनिस्तार Chaitanya avatar. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has taken avatar in this world. Premamritavanya, love of Godhead is flowing freely. Sabbe jiva preme bhase. Everyone, all the living entities, they are drowning in this river of love of God. Prithvi hoila dhanya. Mother Earth, she has become fortunate. But Jebanyai jena bhase. Whoever does not take advantage of this river of love, say jiva char, he is condemned. Koti janme ka bhutar nahi ka nistar. He cannot get delivered even in million lifetimes. So that is the glory of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. That is the glory of Sankirtana. And then Narad Muni says that neophyte devotees, actually they are prakrita bhakta. What is their mentality? They are worshipping deities, but they are envious of other living entities. Supreme Lord is not pleased by such behavior. Saraswati Thakur, he would tell a story. There was one Brahmana, he had a shaligram, and he would worship the shaligram very nicely, and people would come and give donation. And then when everybody is gone, he would take the same shaligram and he would use that to break the badam, and he would call badam bhangi shaligram. So that is not the ideal way. That is not the correct way. Somebody, Srila Prabhupada, he once was describing in New Vrindavan. If you all are not reading the philosophy of Krishna consciousness, if you are not reading every day, if you are not, understanding the philosophy of Krishna consciousness, then after some days you will think, why my spiritual master has given this burden of deities. Archa Vigraha will become Galagraha. It will become a burden around the neck. So that's how we have to be really careful to understand this philosophy so that we can serve deities in a proper way. And then he says, after describing this, that how Lord Krishna is the first and the best recipient, now Narad Muni will describe how Krishna's devotees are also the best recipient. He says a qualified Brahmana must be accepted as the best in the world. Sakshat Haritvena Samasta Shastrai. A devotee of the Lord is as good as Lord himself. When Srila Prabhupada, he said this, in one of the initial days, devotees, they became confused. And they were thinking, so far Swamiji was saying nobody can become God, and now he's saying spiritual master is same as God. How is this possible? So then, Kirtananand Maharaj and Hayagri Prabhu, they went and they asked. So Prabhupada clarified that spiritual master is not God, but he deserves the worship which is same as God, because he is the representative of God. When Srila Prabhupada, he once went to some place, and devotees, they had arranged Rolls Royce for his welcome at airport. Reporters also had come, and everybody was asking so many questions. So one reporter, he asked, Swamiji, generally the sannyasis and the sages, saints, they are supposed to be living very simply. And we are seeing that your disciples, they have arranged a huge big Rolls Royce for your welcome. What can you say about this? Prabhupada, he would sometimes bewilder these, reporters by giving a very graphic example and speaking some very, very strong words. So Prabhupada said, what is this Rolls Royce? This is made of tin, rubber, steel. A representative of God is supposed to be welcomed in a golden Rolls Royce. What is this Rolls Royce? But out of my mercy, I am accepting it. And this person was flabbergasted. So a devotee of the Lord is, he should be given all respect. And actually then he says that a Vaishnava is even superior to a Brahmana. Who is a Brahmana? Who knows the Brahman? but a Vaishnava knows Bhagavan. ब्राह्मणानां सहस्रेभ्यः सत्रयाजी विशिष्यते सत्रयाजी सहस्रेभ्यः सर्ववेदान्तपारग सर्ववेदान्तवित्कोट्या विष्णु भक्त विशिष्यते वैष्णवानां सहस्रेभ्यः एकान्त्येको विशिष्यते. Out of thousands of brahmanas, one who can perform the yajna is the best. Out of thousands of those who can perform the yajna, Sarva Vedanta Paraga, one who knows the Vedanta, he's the best. Sarva Vedanta with quote, out of thousands of those who know Vedanta, a Vaishnava is the supreme. Out of thousands of those who are Vaishnavas, the devotee of Lord Krishna is the supreme. So therefore, the glorious position of Vaishnavas and Brahmanas is so much that even Krishna himself serves the devotees. The devotees of the Lord, they purify the whole world just by the dust of their feet. And therefore, Prabhupada writes that especially those who are engaged in preaching the glories of the Lord, they are very, very dear to the Lord. And the Lord also wants to serve the devotees. Just like devotees want to serve the Lord, Lords want to serve the devotees. So that is the end of the 14th chapter. We'll stop here. So thank you very much. Hare Krishna, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Granthra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. So if anybody has any questions, you can please ask. Okay, so thank you very much. We'll stop here. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.